Let's talk about slope. Finding the slope between 2 points is the same regardless of what type of graph or table or function you're given. Because once you get your 2 points, you're just going to use the slope formula. So let's go through these steps. First, you're going to plug in each x value because you're usually going to be given something like this. Find the average rate of change from x equals -2 to x equals 1. So you're going to plug in each x value to find the y value that goes with it. Because we don't just need 2 values, we need 2 points. Then you're going to write the 2 points and use the slope formula. So just as a reminder, here's your slope formula. And let's look at the first one. We have a table. So where x is -2 to where x is 1. So in my table, I see that x is -2 is right here. So that's my first point. And where x is 1 happens right here. So that's my second point. And now I can do the slope formula. So m equals y2 minus y1. So that's going to be 1 minus 4 over x2 minus x1, which is 1 minus -2. So that's -3 over, this becomes 1 plus 2, which is 3, so we get -1. That's our slope for the first function, which is this table. Actually, we don't know that it's a function, but it's given in table form. Okay, let's look at the graph. For the graph, we're going to start by looking at these 2 x values again, x equals 2 and x equals 1, -2, sorry. So x equals -2 is right here, and I'm going to follow it up to the graph, and there's my point. It looks like the point is at -2 and 8. And then I'm going to go over to the 1, which is right here, and follow up to the graph, and that is at the point 1, 2. Now, when I'm doing it on a graph, I prefer to use the graph over the formula. I just think it's a little bit easier. So I use slope in the form of rise over run. And I always move from left to right because that's how we read everything, right? So if I wanted to get from this point to this point, I would have to move down a certain number of spaces and then to the right a certain number of spaces. The amount of spaces I would have to move down would be 6. And then I'd have to move over, looks like 1, 2, 3. So that means that my slope is -6, 3, or -2. Now you can still use the slope formula here. I just think when you have a graph, it's a little easier to look at rise over run. And notice, I didn't have a rise this time. I had a fall, which is why my rise is -6. All right, and then lastly, for this one, we're going to need to follow the steps here and plug in each x value to find the corresponding y. So let's do that first, and then we'll use the slope formula. So when I plug in, my first x value is -2. So I would have y equals -2 plus 3 squared minus 1, which is -2 plus 3 is 1, squared minus 1, which is 1 minus 1, which is 0. So there's my first point. I plugged in -2, and I got 0. All right, for my second point, I have to plug in 1. So y equals 1 plus 3 squared minus 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 squared is 16. So I have 16, 16, hold on. There seems to be a delay in my writing pad. Let me fix that. 16 minus 1, which is 15. So that's my second point. My second point is I plugged in a 1 and I got 15. And now I would use these 2 points with the slope formula. And that means I'm going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, I could also go the other way and say this one minus this one over this one minus this one. As long as you keep the order the same for both values, for the y and the x, it doesn't matter which one goes first. But make sure it has to be the same for the top and the bottom. So I'm going to do 15 minus 0 on top. And then on the bottom, I'd have to do 1 minus negative 2. So 15 minus 0 is 15. 1 minus negative 2 is the same as 1 plus 2, which is 3. So I get a slope of 5.